Did you know that the average attention span has dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to just 8 seconds today? That's shorter than a goldfish. With distractions everywhere, like social media, video games, and streaming services, traditional storytelling is struggling to keep audiences engaged. In a world that craves instant gratification, familiar plots and predictable endings no longer satisfy. Studies show that 80% of people prefer stories that offer surprises and complex characters. Yet, many storytellers cling to old methods that fail to resonate with modern audiences. So, what does it mean to be a storyteller today? It means adapting, innovating, and breaking the rules. In this video, we'll dive into 6 powerful strategies that will help you become a master storyteller. We'll explore how to ditch predictable plots, embrace open-ended narratives, and create characters that resonate. Get ready to discover the secrets behind engaging storytelling in a world where traditional methods are crumbling. Let's jump in. Chapter 1: The Death of Predictable Plots. Why familiar formulas fail in the modern world. Storytelling has long relied on familiar structures like the hero's journey or the classic 3-act narrative. But in today's world, these formulas often feel stale. Audiences crave novelty. According to research by the Nielsen-Norman Group, people's attention spans have decreased by 25% in the past 20 years. This means predictable plots don't hook audiences like they used to. One reason traditional structures fail is that we live in a world flooded with stories. We're exposed to thousands of narratives daily, from movies and TV to ads and social media. When the same structure is used repeatedly, it becomes easy to predict where the story is going. And once your audience knows what's coming, they check out. Modern audiences expect more. They want twists, layers, and surprises. A study by the University of Cambridge revealed that stories with unexpected plot shifts are 36% more likely to be remembered. Great storytelling today involves defying expectations. When audiences can't see the twists coming, they're more engaged and more likely to stay until the end. Take shows like Breaking Bad. It was unpredictable, full of moral gray areas and shocking character arcs. This is the kind of narrative modern audiences gravitate toward. So, the first step to becoming a great storyteller in this era is to break away from overused formulas. Don't just follow the rules, create your own. Chapter 2: Embracing the Art of Unfinished Stories. How leaving gaps sparks curiosity and engagement. In a world that loves instant gratification, you might think that finishing your story is a must. But sometimes, leaving gaps is the secret to keeping your audience hooked. Open-ended narratives leave room for interpretation, and this makes your story stick with people long after it's over. Psychologist Bloomer Zeigarnik found that humans are 50% more likely to remember incomplete tasks or stories than finished ones. The brain craves closure, and when it doesn't get it, it keeps replaying the narrative. Think about movies like Inception or The Sopranos. The endings are ambiguous, and because of that, people are still debating them years later. Unfinished stories allow your audience to become co-creators. By not giving them all the answers, you invite them to fill in the gaps. This turns passive viewers into active participants, which is incredibly powerful in today's media landscape. A study by Emory University showed that stories that leave room for interpretation create more emotional engagement in the brain, stimulating areas associated with empathy and imagination. To embrace this technique, don't feel pressured to tie up every loose end. It's okay to leave certain things unsaid or unresolved. Let your audience wonder, speculate, and keep thinking about your story long after it ends. It's a storytelling strategy that transforms a simple narrative into an unforgettable experience. Chapter 3: The Disruptor's Edge. Flipping expectations on their head. Why subverting norms is the new key to great storytelling. In storytelling, nothing captures attention like surprise. But surprise isn't just about a sudden plot twist. It's about subverting expectations throughout your narrative. When you flip norms on their head, you create stories that feel fresh and exciting. Take Game of Thrones, for example. One of its most famous moments, the Red Wedding, shattered the audience's expectations by killing major characters in a brutal, shocking way. It didn't follow the traditional, heroes always win, formula, and because of that, it became one of the most talked about episodes in TV history. Subverting expectations doesn't just mean shocking your audience, though. It's about playing with established norms. The strong, silent hero trope is one that's been used time and again. But stories like Fleabag turn that idea upside down by giving us a protagonist who speaks directly to the camera, sharing her innermost thoughts. This was different, engaging, and caught viewers off guard in a good way. A 2020 study by USC found that stories that subvert audience expectations boost emotional engagement by 40%. That's because our brains are wired to seek patterns. When those patterns are broken, it forces us to pay closer attention. We're more alert, more involved, and more likely to connect emotionally. So, how can you apply this? Start by identifying the cliches and common tropes in your genre, then turn them upside down. If people expect a happy ending, think about introducing a more bittersweet conclusion. If your protagonist fits a familiar mold, give them an unexpected flaw or background. The key is to surprise your audience, but in a way that feels earned and organic to the story. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to subscribe. Join our community of storytellers and stay updated on the latest tips and tricks to elevate your storytelling game. Chapter 4, Multisensory Storytelling. Beyond words, capturing minds through atmosphere and emotion. Great stories aren't just told through words. They're felt through every sensory detail. Modern storytelling uses atmosphere, setting, and emotion to immerse audiences. This technique taps into more than just the plot, it triggers real feelings and reactions. In fact, studies show that adding sensory details to a story increases audience engagement by 26%. Think of it like this: when you describe how a room smells, the light hitting the walls, or the chill in the air, you're pulling the audience deeper into the world you've created. The more senses you can activate, the more vivid your story becomes. It stops being just words on a page and starts to feel real. Take The Road by Cormac McCarthy as an example. The world he paints is bleak, cold, and lifeless. McCarthy doesn't tell you this outright, he shows it through sparse dialogue and descriptions that make you feel the biting wind and see the desolate landscape. These elements create an atmosphere that grips the reader, making the story hard to forget. There's also a psychological component. Neuroscientists have found that sensory-rich storytelling activates the same areas in the brain as real-life experiences. So when you write about a character tasting something bitter or hearing a distant echo, the audience isn't just reading, they're experiencing it alongside the character. To become a great storyteller, focus on creating these immersive moments. Pay attention to the little details, and don't shy away from using sensory language. Let your audience feel the story, not just read it. Chapter 5, The Power of Relatable Flaws, Imperfect Heroes, Perfect Stories. How to create characters who resonate in an imperfect world. Audiences are no longer interested in perfect heroes. They want characters who are flawed and real. Why? Because perfection is boring, and nobody relates to it. In today's world, people connect more deeply with characters who struggle, fail, and make mistakes, just like they do. A study by the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people are 22% more likely to like someone who makes a small mistake because it makes them seem more human. This is known as the pratfall effect. The same idea applies to storytelling. When your protagonist has relatable flaws, your audience is more likely to empathize with them. Look at characters like Tony Stark from Iron Man or Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Both are deeply flawed. Tony is arrogant and impulsive, while Katniss struggles with trust and vulnerability. These imperfections don't make them less likable, they make them more compelling. Audiences don't want someone perfect. They want someone who reflects the complexities of real life. Another great example is Fleabag, a character who is self-destructive and emotionally distant, yet wildly relatable. Her flaws make her story both tragic and hilarious, pulling the audience into her inner world. By showing her vulnerabilities, the show resonates on a deeper level. The takeaway here: don't be afraid to make your characters flawed. Give them internal struggles, imperfections, and obstacles to overcome. These layers make them feel real, and audiences will connect with their journey on a more personal level. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on all things storytelling. Join our community and discover more tips to enhance your skills and connect with your audience. Thank you for watching.